All right, that is from The Magic of Chet Atkins. That is Classical Gas. That's a good one. And you're going to be hearing more from that before 7. Today, my name is Jim Murphy, and you are listening to the Jim Murphy Radio Show on WHCM. Also on my website, MurphCast.com. And also through Harper's website, which is harpercollege.edu. Go to Student Services and Student Activities to listen online. So how you doing today? I hope you're having a good day, wherever you may be listening. On this, I don't know how to describe this day. I have kind of very mixed emotions about what's going on lately. And the reason is, which I alluded to earlier, is talking about the news that we got about the death of Osama bin Laden on Sunday night. And I was thinking about what it means to everyone, what it, how did you feel? How did you react? Were you happy? Were you sad? And what it did for me was it took me back to that day, to September 11th, 2001. And what I thought I would do is share with everyone my experience of that day. And where I was employed at that time with United Airlines. I no longer work for them. I haven't been with them for about 6 years now. And the story as to why I don't work for them is, that's a whole other show. That's another thing, another reason that I'll get to why I thought about all of this is part of it is about letting go and things like that. But anyway, where I worked was a place called the System Management Center, or we called it the SMC. And it was basically what it was. Really, it was call center operations. And what we did is we worked in a room. We sat in a room, not a very big room. It was really a converted conference room at in United's headquarters in Elk Grove. And what we would do is monitor or run United's reservations operation for the day on a shift, on an 8-hour shift. It's a 24/7 operation. And I was working the day shift. I was working a 6 o'clock shift, 6 a.m. to 2:30, I believe is what it was. And also it was with another guy who I used to work with, who I'll just say it, we didn't get along. We just did not get along. I can go into that. That can be an entire show, but I could do a whole show on coworker problems. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we generally were getting along this day, and we just I think, yeah, I came in at 6, and I think he came at 7 or whatever, and it's kind of slow. It starts out slow, the day. But what we noted, and I'll remember this till the day I die, is, it was a Tuesday. I remember it was, September 11th was a Tuesday. And we noted, and we both said how slow a day it was. And we both said, boy, this is going to be a long day. This is going to be a real slow day. So one of the things you have to do in this position was you would check in with all the offices. There were procedures and everything that person had to do. And we were called senior manpower coordinators. That was just the title of the position, senior manpower coordinator. And one of the things you had to do was check in every day with the person who was your similar position in that office. So there were 17 offices at the time, believe it or not. And the way the economy went down after September 11th was, by the time I left, there were only 5 offices, just to give you an idea of how quickly that operation shrank. So anyway, I checked in with a few offices, and the way it started is I checked in with the Fort Wayne office. It was, there was a guy there. His name was Dale. So Dale answers the phone, and Dale was another guy. Well, I didn't get along with all that much. Really, I'm a good guy. I'm pretty easy to get along with, but Dale was, and I don't have anything against unions or anything like that, but Dale was a hardline union guy, and he basically always thought of me, or anytime I would check in with him, is we were the big corporate guy calling. I was the big corporate honcho checking in, and I'm going to tell him what to do. And for the most part, that's kind of what the job was about. But you'd work together, and that was the purpose of calling every day, was check in with that person, build a rapport with them, get to know them, see what's going on. So that was why we would call. You'd check in, see what's going on, who's on today, anything going on in your office, any problems, anything I need to address, da-da-da-da. So, anyway, call Dale, and he does his usual kind of a little attitude thing with me, but then he says to me, he says to me, "Hey, Jim, did you hear anything about a plane hitting the World Trade Center?" I was like, what? And the reason I said that was, we'd get calls like this all the time. We'd get calls, or, there were so many reservations agents, 1,000 reservation agents, and they'd hear something and they'd call their office, what do you call them, the tower, their operations at that office, and then they'd call us, did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? 99 times out of 100, it was nothing, So when Dale said this, he said, did you hear anything about a plane hitting the World Trade Center? I was like, I said, no, Dale, but if it has happened, I'm sure I would have heard about it by now, So he said, well, you might want to check into it, because a guy I work with, or one of the guys who works here, just came in and said he was watching it on CNN. I was like, really? I said, okay, well, all right. I'll check it out. Because also the way the job worked is, if you didn't check something out, then, usually they were nothing. But the one you didn't check out would usually be the big one. So I went, all right, I'll check it out, So I get done calling all the offices and this and that and everything else. And I think somebody else may have mentioned it. Or maybe he was the last one. I don't know. But anyway, so we did have internet access at that time in 2001. I think we had just gotten internet access, So I go online, and since he mentioned CNN, I thought, okay, go to CNN.com, and there it is. It comes up, and there's the picture, of the first tower that had been hit, and the, smoke coming out of it. So I call over the guy I'm working with, and I said, hey, check this out, He says, what? I said, I just talked to Dale, and he said this, I told him what he said. And we're just sitting there looking at it. We're just staring. We're like, wow, wonder what that is. And like everyone else, remember, on that day, you're just kind of like, you didn't know what it meant, or, it was a small plane, and, you really didn't think much of it, but it kind of seemed pretty bad. So next thing we did, now our means of communication, our main means of communication in that office back at that time was a little, not a transistor radio, but it was a little AM radio. So we had this radio, and we would turn on WBBM. We would leave it on all the time, but we would leave it on just to see if there's something we need to know. But we didn't have it on because BBM's great. It's, you get a lot of great information. It's real quick. But at some point, if there's nothing going on, if you've listened to it for an hour and a half or 2 hours, it's basically repeating the same thing over and over, you know. So I think we had it turned off because of that, you know, maybe heard what we needed to hear. So I turned it on, and they had already gone to New York to CBS Live. And there was a reporter that was there on the scene describing what had gone on. Now by the time we had turned it on, there had been enough time gone by where the first plane had hit. And, you know, we turn it on and we're listening to this guy describe what's going on. And me and this guy were just sitting there kind of looking at each other like, huh, yeah, all right. We still didn't really understand what was going on. So all of a sudden this guy says, okay. He stops and he goes, now wait. Okay. All right. Now we're seeing something, and there's an explosion. And he goes, there's an explosion by the second tower. And he pauses and he pauses and he goes, you know what? Okay, yep, we can confirm it. A second plane has just hit the south tower. And we just like went, whoa. You know, we just looked at each other like, and we just jumped up immediately. Like both of us immediately just got to our feet, ran out of the office and down to the administrative area. It was called RZ, or Reservations Planning. So it was all the staff people. And both of us are just running down, crazy running. And then, you know, there's a couple of people standing there, and they have no idea what's going on. They're just looking like, what's wrong with you guys? We said, listen, you got to know what's going on. There are 2 planes have hit the World Trade Center, and something's going on. And we both kind of said, you know, this something's bad. Like it's a terrorist attack or something, you know. And they're like looking at us like, what? I go, no, we're like, hey, serious business. Let's go, you know, pay attention, turn the radio on or something, you know. So, you know, we go back to our office, and like I said, we go back to watching what's going on. And we still kind of aren't sure what's going on, you know. So what we did, so we're still like looking at it and monitoring it, you know, and you still don't know what's going on. Now, the other thing is, you know, we didn't have a TV, so we can't turn anything on to watch what's going on. So what we did was, you know, like a little time goes by. So then this girl that we work with comes walking by, and she says, did you guys hear? And we're like, hear what? She says, they seem to think that they can't find Flight 175. We're like, what? We're like, yeah, they can't find it. So I went over to the, you know, our system that we have. It's called Apollo, you know, and all that. So what you did, you know, you could just find out flight information. It's real simple. Back in the day, you know, it was just called FLIFO. That's like Airline 101. So I went and I did a FLIFO on it, which is just F colon and then the flight number. And it comes up and it's flashing. You know, and I'm like, whoa. And I remember this because I used to work in the operations center. I used to work as a freight, or not as a freight, but I used to work as a what was the job? It was an aircraft router, and it was in the operations area, and that's kind of like the center of United's airline operation for the day. You know, it was over in the north building. And I remember what I learned over there is they had the ability to lock out a flight, to close it out. Meaning if there was an incident, you know, like a regular day, like a normal day, if there was a problem with a flight, they could lock it out. So when I did that, and I saw that it was flashing, and I had been with the company for, you know, at that point, 16 years, I had never seen that. You know, I had never seen a flight flash like that. And the first thing I said to them, I said to my, people around me, I said, that flight has crashed. I said, something's going on because they have locked out this flight. And they look at me like, what are you talking about? I said, that's what they do. If there's an incident on a plane, they lock it out. So I just went, I told them, we got to find out. So what we did, and I said, listen, we got to go into like emergency mode here, like emergency procedures, because, so we had our emergency procedures and all that, but one of them was to call OPB, was to call operations. So I call operations, and usually you get through to these guys, but I mean, it is just busy, just solid busy, And that also told me too, I said, listen, they know about this already, So we what did we do next? Well, we were sitting there, and I said, listen, we got to start getting in touch with people because this has happened. This has already happened, So I think we tried a few more times. We'll try OPB again, second time, third time, and it's never like that. I mean, usually on a regular day, maybe you'll get a busy signal once, but you'll never get it a second time because these guys have to answer the phone, So after about the third time, I said, listen, that's flashing, and these guys aren't answering the phone, So anyway, I'm trying to think of from then, then people start calling us, we start calling, and we start calling, our procedures are you're supposed to start calling, managers and this and that. So pretty much everyone at this point is watching the news reports, except us, because we didn't have a TV. And then later on, we determined what was going on, like, yes, this had happened. And then there was an announcement came out that the company had said that, yes, that, Flight 176 was involved. And, we just went on from there. Like, it was just, whoa, this is unbelievable, So we start going through our procedures, and, it's one of those things where you have emergency procedures, but nothing goes the way it's planned. It's like step 1, step 2, step 3, and before you know it, like this is meaningless. We got to, put out overtime and all that. But another thing I remember happened that day was, then our phone starts ringing. All the offices start ringing, start calling, and that's, hey, did you hear this? Hey, did you hear that? So I get this one call. It was from the Washington, D.C. office, the Dulles office. And he says, the guy from operations says, listen, I have an agent on the phone who says that he's talking to a passenger on a flight that's been hijacked. I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you, really? Okay, So, and this is how weird this day got for me was, he said, yeah, the guy says that his name is Jeremy Glick. I'm like, okay, And now, here's where I, you make dumb mistakes, but the only thing that clicked in my mind, and this is really strange, but there's that character that Martin Short used to do, and his name was Jiminy Glick. So I'm like, huh? What? I go, nah, that can't be. I go, that's got to be a joke, or something, So I said, have him find out who it is, and get as much information as you can, and do. And I said, all heck is breaking loose here, so, but do what you can. So we had to start sending messages that this had happened, that had happened, and this and that. That you put one of those down. Call us, but don't call us if it's an absolute emergency. And everyone's going crazy. So as it turned out, yeah, that's who it was. It was that passenger on United Flight 93. It was Jeremy Glick, and he he had called. Somehow he had gotten he called 911, and I think what it was a 911, and he somehow got to like a state trooper, or he got to somewhere, and then that person called United Reservations. So anyway, it just kind of snowballed from there. And then what we did next was we noticed our call volumes. Now we had this report that would run, and it was a real-time report, and it would turn over every 3 minutes. And what it would do is give you the amount of call volumes, or the amount of calls that would come into a certain phone number. So there was the main number, which I still know the number. I'm not going to give it out, and we noticed that now in a 3-minute period, you get like maybe, I don't know, average would be 350 calls. If it got busy, 500 calls, 600 calls, So we're sitting here, and all of a sudden we notice that it is just skyrocketing, 1,000 calls. Next 3 minutes, 1,500 calls. Next 3 minutes, So we're like noticing that going. So before we know it, it's one of those days where, all hands were on deck, this and that. And then a few minutes later, a little time later, we're just listening to the reports, and all of a sudden we hear that a plane had hit the Pentagon. And it was like, I actually remember doing this. I actually remember that when I heard that, I actually kind of crouched down. Like, I had this feeling like, wow, what is happening? Like, are we going to be attacked? Is this building going to be attacked? You had no idea what was going on. So anyway, the day just went on, and at some point, the United had announced there was the two planes that were involved, and they announced them and this and that, and we got everything set up for the emergency lines and the lines for the media and things like that. And the day just went on, but the thing that was just the strangest thing, and the other thing is that report that I was telling you about, at some point it got to, in the afternoon, it set a record where normally we would have 350 calls per every 3 minutes. It got up to 30,000 calls. It was 30,000 calls were coming into the reservations line every 3 minutes. And it was people just trying to, just cancel, or just cancel their booking. And I think I remember the next day, getting ahead a little bit, but the next day a guy came in and said, normally United will get like so many bookings a day. Let's just say 70,000 bookings a day or whatever. On September 11th, they had minus 120,000 bookings. People were just calling and canceling whenever they could get through. I mean, at some point, the circuits were just burning up where, they just weren't working and people weren't getting through, but the ones that did get through. And so, but anyway, yeah, so that report that usually has 300 calls every 10 minutes, every 3 minutes was 30,000. We just sat there and stared at it. So, but anyway, and the other thing that was really strange about that day is, like I said, we didn't have a TV. So all those images that are seared into our minds now of, the planes hitting the buildings and all that, I didn't see until I got home at like 4 in the afternoon, like 5 in the afternoon. And like I said, or my memory was, I could not stop watching it. I mean, I just could not stop watching it. Over and over and over again. I could not believe that it had happened. So anyway, I know this is an unusual day, but that's what I decided to do for this day, was recall that day. It was just triggered by the events on Sunday night, and I guess you can talk about how you heard about it on Sunday night. It was pretty strange. But anyway, I think there's more that I can recall from that day. But, if you want to talk about it or have anything you want to say about those events, you can contact me here at the studio. The number is 847-925-6237. Maybe I'll put you on the air. Maybe I won't. I'm not sure. But anyway, I know this is kind of a strange day going forward, but that's what I had planned, was to talk about it. And it is now 5:30, and I think I need to get to some PSAs and also get some more music on. It's not the normal music that I usually play during the show. Going to go through my dad's record collection. But anyway, I don't know if that was entertaining what I just did, but just thought I'd tell a story, and that's basically what I think about this show is, just talk and tell stories about things current and from the past. So, all right, well, I got some business to do here, and I will be right back right after this.
Hey, what's up? This is Gwen from No Doubt, speaking for Rad.